Invasive radiographic methods that are usually used to scan living patients.
Only a handful of pyramids survive.
Fighting off all kinds of demons and beasties that wanted to.
Discoveries in archaeology are always fascinating, right? I mean, who doesn't love uncovering secrets from the past? So, from the advanced techniques that scientists use to map out a hidden chamber in the Great Pyramid to the mummified cats found near Egypt's Sphinx, join me in today's video as we explore the newly discovered hidden chamber in Egypt's Sphinx. 1. Scientists find secret chamber in Great Pyramid. In 2016, researchers using a fancy technique called muography stumbled upon a hidden corridor in the Great Pyramid of Giza. Fast forward to today, and Egyptian antiquities officials are lighting up with excitement over this find, which is believed to be around 4,500 years old. Located above the main entrance on the northern side of the Pyramid of Khufu, this corridor stretches almost 30 feet long and towers over 6 feet wide. For those not in the know, the Great Pyramid, constructed during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu around 25 and 60 BC, is not just any old pile of stones. It's one of the trio making up the Great Pyramids of Giza, and yup, it's the last standing wonder of the original 7 wonders of the world. The grand reveal was made by none other than the legendary Egyptian archaeologist Zahi Hawass, alongside the country's Minister for Tourism, Ahmed Issa. They were all smiles at an unveiling ceremony that probably had more flashbulbs popping than a Hollywood premiere. This isn't just a cool corridor for history buffs to drool over. Scientists think it might have been cleverly designed to redistribute weight around the pyramid's entrance, or perhaps shield a yet-to-be-discovered chamber. Remember 2017? That's when researchers hit the jackpot with another sealed chamber inside Khufu's pyramid that stretched a whopping 98 feet. Mustafa Waziri, the big boss at Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, hinted that the corridor's end could just be the beginning. With ongoing scans, who knows what secrets lie ahead? As Waziri put it, they're not stopping until they uncover what's at the end of this corridor, or what lies beneath it. With each discovery, the pyramids continue to mystify scientists and history enthusiasts alike. Despite their age, their true construction techniques remain one of history's most tantalizing mysteries. And with discoveries like this, could we finally uncover who really built this magnificent wonder? 2. Who built the Great Sphinx? Sometimes even ancient monuments can get caught up in a bit of a historical whodunit. Take the Great Sphinx of Giza, for instance. A colossal structure with the body of a lion and the head of a human. It's a landmark that grabs the spotlight not just for its imposing presence, but for the lingering mystery of its origins. Who decided to put this giant cat with a human head in the sands of Egypt? Most fingers point to Pharaoh Khafra, ruling around 2500 BCE. He's the brain behind the second largest pyramid at Giza, and it's no coincidence that the Sphinx, lounging near this pyramid in the Valley Temple, looks like it might be part of the family. Plus, some folks reckon the face of the Sphinx bears a striking resemblance to Khafra himself, which seems like a solid clue, right? But no concrete proof, like inscriptions or selfies, directly links Khafra to the Sphinx. This absence of evidence has flung the door wide open to alternative theories. Some suggest that Khafra's older brother, Jedefre, was the mastermind, wanting to pay a grand tribute to their father, Khufu, the original pyramid trendsetter with the Great Pyramid under his belt. And some even say the Sphinx's face looks more like Khufu than Khafra. Enter the controversial curveball from some circles, including geologist Robert Schoch, who thinks the Sphinx might be an ancient A-lister, way older than Khafra's time, dating back between 7000 and 5000 BCE. They point to water erosion patterns as proof, noting this would date the Sphinx to a time when Egypt's weather would have had the drama of a rain-soaked soap opera. Then, in 2004, Egyptologist Vasil Dobrev threw another theory into the mix. He suggested that, indeed, Jedefre created the Sphinx as an ode to Khufu, with the placement and layout of nearby structures lending weight to this idea. Despite the tangle of theories, the scholarly consensus keeps circling back to Khafra's era, tying the Sphinx to his time's architectural style and spiritual geography. Now, just when you think you know the story of the Sphinx, another twist emerges. Who knows why the Great Sphinx seems to be missing its nose? 3. The missing nose of the Great Sphinx. Have you ever wondered why the Great Sphinx of Giza is missing its nose? It's one of those historical head-scratchers that's as visible as it is puzzling. Theories abound, but the true story behind the Sphinx's absent nose is a tale worth telling. Way back before the days of selfies and social media, the Sphinx had already lost its nose. In fact, the iconic statue was noseless long before Napoleon Bonaparte and his army ever set foot in Egypt. That debunks the old myth that Napoleon's troops blasted it off during target practice. The real evidence points much further back. Historical sketches by Danish explorer Frederick Louis Norden in 1737 show the Sphinx in all its noseless glory, a clear 60 years before Napoleon's Egyptian campaign. So, how did the Sphinx lose its distinguishing feature? Enter the 15th century Arab historian al-Makrouza, who gives us the juicy details. It seems that in 1378 CE, a Sufi Muslim named Muhammad Sa'im al-Dar took matters into his own hands. Frustrated by local peasants who made offerings to the Sphinx hoping to boost their harvests, al-Dar saw this as nothing short of idolatry. In a bold act of defiance, he chiseled the nose right off the statue. His actions eventually led to his execution for vandalism. But let's not discount Mother Nature and her role in this historical whodunit. The Sphinx, carved from limestone, has endured centuries of battering by wind and sand, contributing to its wear and tear. Scholars' close examination shows deliberate marks where rods or chisels were used to pry the nose away, suggesting a more intentional act rather than just the ravages of time. Through detailed studies, it's clear the nose, once about a meter wide, didn't just fall off. It was intentionally removed. While we've pieced together much of the mystery, the full story of how and why the Sphinx lost its nose remains partially veiled in history's sands. And just when you thought that was intriguing, wait until you hear about the mummified cats and scarab beetles in the Great Sphinx of Giza. 4. Mummified cats and scarab beetles. Think about stumbling upon a treasure trove of ancient goodies near one of the world's most iconic monuments. That's exactly what happened in November 2018 when Egyptian archaeologists made a stunning find right by the Great Sphinx of Giza. They dug up not one, but 7 tombs that have been sitting there for over 6,000 years. And guess what? These tombs were filled with mummified cats and some seriously fancy beetles. The big reveal took place in the Saqqara necropolis, a stone's throw from the Sphinx itself. Out of these tombs, 3 were like exclusive clubs for cats. That's right, entire tombs dedicated to whiskered creatures. The archaeologists discovered dozens of cat mummies, and some were even decked out with golden masks. They didn't stop there though. Alongside the mummies, they found 100 wooden cat statues and a striking bronze statue of Bastet, the cat goddess. Cats were a pretty big deal in ancient Egyptian society, symbolizing protection and fertility thanks to their divine connection with goddess Bastet. Egyptians didn't just admire cats from afar, they brought them into their homes, loved them, and even believed these furry friends brought good fortune. When it was time to say goodbye, mummifying cats was the norm, a way to send them off as offerings to deities or as companions for the afterlife. This discovery not only highlights the Egyptians' knack for mummification, but also gives us a peek into the intricate burial customs and religious practices centered around cats. The preservation and details of these artifacts let us marvel at the craftsmanship and deep-rooted rituals from thousands of years ago. Now, if you thought mummified cats were fascinating, have you ever wondered about the origin of the Sphinx's name? 5. The origin of its name. You might not believe it, but the iconic Sphinx of Giza had a serious identity crisis over the millennia. Let's dive into the fascinating history of its many names. And trust me, it's quite the roller coaster of linguistic acrobatics. Way back, about 4,500 years ago, when the Sphinx was originally built, the ancient Egyptians certainly didn't call it the Sphinx. That term is actually Greek and was slapped onto the statue about 2,000 years after its creation. The Greeks saw this majestic statue with a lion's body and a human head, and were reminded of their mythical creature, the Sphinx, which had the body of a lion and a woman's head. Naturally, they started calling the Egyptian statue by their word for it. But before the Greeks got their hands on it, the ancient Egyptians might have referred to this monumental statue as Shesep Ankh, a term that can be translated to living image. Now, this wasn't just any nickname. It was a title of honor used for statues representing gods or kings, suggesting that the Sphinx was more than just a pile of rocks, but a sacred symbol. Fast forward to the New Kingdom around 3,500 years ago, and our stony friend got another makeover in the name department. This time, it was associated with the god Horus, and earned the title Horamakhet, or Horus of the Horizon. It's a fitting name, don't you think? Positioned as it is, with commanding views over the Giza Plateau, the Sphinx seems to be guarding the horizon. In the Middle Ages, Arab writers looked upon this enigmatic figure and called it Abu al-Hawal, which translates to Father of Terror. Quite dramatic, but it goes to show the mix of awe and mystery that the Sphinx continued to inspire across different cultures and epochs. With all these names and the stories behind them, the original name given to the Sphinx by its creators remains a mystery lost to the sands of time. No inscriptions or ancient texts from when it was built have survived to tell us what name it was first known by. And just when you think you've heard it all, there's always another layer to uncover about Egypt's enigmatic pyramid. 6. The Bent Pyramid of Egypt. Taking a tumble on live TV might earn you a few chuckles from viewers, but if you're a tourist who stumbles upon a secret passage in an ancient pyramid, you might just become part of history. It was 2600 BC, and Pharaoh Sneferu called the shots in ancient Egypt. He decided to shake things up in the pyramid world during his reign and gave us the Bent Pyramid of Dashur. Now, this isn't your average run-of-the-mill pyramid. Nope, this one's got a quirky twist, literally. The Bent Pyramid earns its name because halfway up, the smooth angles of its sides take a sudden turn. The architects must have had a change of heart or a flash of inspiration, because this adjustment gives the pyramid a distinctive bent shape that's not just unique, but also a head-turner. Fast forward to the interior, and you find the so-called Forbidden Tunnel. For years, this mysterious passage was off-limits, a narrow gateway shrouded in secrecy and accessible only to the select few with a knack for archaeology. In 2019, however, the Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities decided it was high time everyone got a peek, and they threw open the doors to the public. This tunnel is no walk in the park, stretching a whopping 79 meters, that's about 260 feet. It plunges steeply into the heart of the pyramid. If you're claustrophobic, brace yourself. This passage requires visitors to crouch and shuffle their way through. And let's just say the HVAC system leaves a bit to be desired. The air gets hot and humid, turning your trek into a real-life adventure that tests your mettle. Once you navigate this challenging passageway, you're rewarded with access to two chambers. The first chamber hugs the pyramid's base, while the second perches higher up, reached by yet another passage. These rooms feature high, corbelled ceilings, an architectural marvel designed to lighten the load of the stone looming overhead. The purpose of these chambers and their mysterious connecting tunnel is still a hot topic among historians. Were they meant to house the royal dead, or were they part of some grand ceremonial rite? The debate rages on. The Bent Pyramid itself stands as proof of the evolution of Egyptian pyramid construction, marking a pivotal transition from the earlier step pyramids to the later smooth-sided wonders. If you think that's fascinating, how about the intriguing Dream Stele? 7. The Dream Stele. Nestled between the giant paws of the Great Sphinx in Giza, the Dream Stele isn't just any old piece of rock. Erected by Pharaoh Thutmose IV back in the balmy days of 1401 BC, during Egypt's illustrious 18th dynasty, this large pink granite tablet tells a tale that's as intriguing as it is pivotal. Here's the scoop. Young Prince Thutmose was out for a hunt in the scorching heat of Giza. Seeking a bit of respite, he found shade under the colossal Sphinx. As he drifted off, he didn't just catch some zaz. He caught a vision that would dictate not just his future, but the entire course of Egyptian history. In his dream, the Sphinx, doubling as the god Harmachis, had a chat with Thutmose. Apparently, it was feeling a bit overwhelmed by sand. Yes, the Sphinx had asked for a cleanup. The deal was straightforward: clear the sand, and young Thutmose would ascend to Egypt's throne. Inspired by this divine intervention, Thutmose rolled up his sleeves, cleared the sand, and voila, he became Pharaoh Thutmose IV. As a big thank you to his sandy benefactor, he popped the Dream Stele right between its paws as a lasting tribute to the dream that made him king. The stele itself is quite the heavyweight, about 15 tons of finely carved pink granite, standing 360 centimeters tall, 218 centimeters wide, and 70 centimeters thick. The top part of the stele features Thutmose IV making offerings to the Sphinx, looking every bit the grateful ruler. Below that, you've got the hieroglyphic play-by-play of his dream. But some historians aren't buying the whole story. They whisper that Thutmose IV might have whipped up this whole dream scenario to solidify his grip on the throne, especially if he wasn't the next in line. Plus, the stele wasn't even made for the occasion. It was repurposed from a door lintel belonging to the mortuary temple of Khafre, the very pharaoh believed to have commissioned the Sphinx. This bit of architectural recycling has scholars scratching their heads about the stele's original intent and even the true age of the Sphinx itself. Could this be a case of royal propaganda or a genuine mystical encounter? Either way, it's a fascinating glimpse into how dreams and destiny might have intertwined in the sands of ancient Egypt. And if you thought that was mind-boggling, wait until you hear about the newly discovered pyramid. 8. Egyptologists open a newly discovered pyramid. Diving into the sands of time, Egypt never fails to amaze us with its ancient mysteries just waiting to be unearthed. Fast forward to April 2017, and guess what? The Egyptian Ministry of Antiquities drops a bombshell. They've found another pyramid. And not just any pyramid. This one hails from the time of the 13th dynasty, around 3,700 years ago, as reported by the Associated Press. But an inscription suggests this pyramid might have been built for a ruler who apparently didn't mind being neighbors with his own monumental tomb. This intriguing find was made at the Dahshur necropolis, a spot about 25 miles south of Cairo, right on the west bank of the Nile. This area is no stranger to architectural wonders. It's home to some of Egypt's earliest pyramids like Sneferu's Bent Pyramid and the Red Pyramid. While the top part of our newly discovered pyramid is long gone, the base is still there, hiding secrets of ancient corridors and chambers. Adel Okasha, who heads the Dahshur site, gave us a sneak peek into what's left underground. He described a layout including a corridor that guides you right into the pyramid's heart, leading to a hall that branches off towards a southern ramp, and a mysterious room on the western side. Owen Jarris from Live Science got his hands on some images of the hieroglyphics found on a slab inside. These aren't just any scribbles, they're religious texts typically found in pyramids, hinting that this place was pretty special. Now, this is where it gets even more interesting. The name on the slab, it's Pharaoh Amini Kamau, who ruled sometime around 1790 BC. But here's the plot twist. Amini Kamau's pyramid was discovered in Dahshur in 1957. This has left some experts scratching their heads. Aidan Dodson, a scholar from the University of Bristol, thinks it's possible that Kamau might have pulled a fast one, erasing a predecessor's name to put his own on the slab, a common move back in the day to erase memories of past rulers. The mystery deepens as the Ministry of Antiquities continues their digs, hoping to piece together who this grand structure was really for. Was it a second home for Amini Kamau? Or does it belong to another high-ranking official lost to history? As we eagerly await more revelations from the sands of Dahshur, one can't help but wonder, has it ever crossed your mind to just go ahead and climb the Great Pyramid? 9. Teen illegally climbed Egypt's Great Pyramid. There's a fine line between daring and downright reckless, but for Andrzej Ciesielski, that line seemed to blur on a bright day in January 2016. At just 18 years old, this audacious German tourist decided to tackle something that most would only dream of, or wisely decide against. He set his sights on the summit of the Great Pyramid of Giza, a feat that wasn't just daring, but illegal. Andrzej's adventure began innocuously enough, with a casual visit to Cairo followed by a taxi ride to Giza. But what came next was anything but ordinary. Despite the risks, like a possible 3-year stint in jail or the sheer physical danger of climbing a 455-foot pyramid, Andrzej was undeterred. Why? Well, in his words, as reported by The Telegraph, the potential for stunning photos seemed worth it. With a GoPro camera strapped on, Andrzej didn't just walk up to the pyramid, he practically sprinted, taking the initial steps at a pace to prevent any chance of being stopped. "I just started climbing," he told Business Insider, making it clear that turning back was not an option. It wasn't until he was about halfway up that the authorities finally took notice. But by then, it was too late to stop him. Andre reached the peak in a brisk 8 minutes, capturing images that boasted breathtaking views of the surrounding pyramids and ancient landscapes. The view was really amazing, he recalled. The descent was more cautious, taking roughly 20 minutes, but still swift enough to keep the adrenaline pumping. Once back on solid ground, the consequences began to take shape as Andre found himself in police custody. Initially, it seemed like a diplomatic ordeal was on the horizon, as there was talk of escorting him to the German embassy. However, in a turn of luck, he was released with a stern condition from the officers: delete all photographic proof of the climb. Little did they know, Andre had a trick up his sleeve: recovery software. Thanks to this handy tech, he managed to salvage the once deleted images of his escapade. Reflecting on the climb, he remained unrepentant, emphasizing that his actions hadn't caused harm or damage. "Some people were really angry, but I don't care," he asserted. "I didn't destroy anything. I didn't hurt anyone." Andre's bold move left many in awe and others in disbelief, sparking discussions on the balance between adventure and cultural respect. 10. Ancient Egyptian tombs were crammed full of snacks. Navigating the bustling halls of the Cairo Museum, you might think you've seen the pinnacle of ancient Egyptian splendor, with Tutankhamun's dazzling array of treasures. But fast forward to today, as those same artifacts make their grand entrance at the new Grand Egyptian Museum, a story that is even more fascinating unfolds, not about the boy king's earthly journey, but his extraordinary adventures beyond it. You see, the ancient Egyptians had an interesting take on the afterlife. They weren't merely preoccupied with death, but die-hard fans of living well, striving to carry that zest into the beyond. This explains why Tutankhamun's resting place was stuffed to the brim. From golden statues to simple loincloths, his tomb was less a burial site and more a celestial suitcase, packed with every conceivable amenity to ensure eternal bliss. Now, you might be wondering, what exactly was Tutankhamun expecting to find on the other side? According to Egyptologist Salima Ikram, the secrets might lie in the more modest items tucked away in his tomb. Imagine a teenage boy preparing for an infinite existence. Of course, he'd want his pantry well stocked. And stocked it was, with bread, wine, and the more upscale snacks of pomegranates, along with little green onions and garlic for that extra flavor kick, or just to nibble on a green onion when the mood struck. Not to mention the dates, heaps of them. And not just any dates, but the luxury, pitted kind for a fuss-free feast. But that's just the starter. For the main course, Tutankhamun could indulge in an endless buffet of Egypt's finest cuts. We're talking about ribs, large joints from the forelegs of cattle, and boxes upon boxes of mummified poultry, cleverly encased in containers shaped like the birds they once were. It was a culinary setup fit for a pharaoh, pre-cooked, pre-packed, and poised to last an eternity. As these 5,000 treasures reunite under the roof of the Grand Egyptian Museum, they paint a vivid picture of a young ruler's life and his anticipated eternal lifestyle, teeming with opulence and never-ending feasts. Who knew the afterlife could be so well catered? What do you think about this incredible discovery? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this video fascinating, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel for more amazing discoveries like this, and hit the bell icon to stay updated on our latest content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next adventure.